Hi guys, welcome back to another fun conversation with your favorite tech girl aka me. And in today's video we're going to be covering how does a product manager's role change basis the scale of the company that you're working for. But before we get started, guys, those of you who have watched my videos before, why have you not subscribed yet? Why have you not shared it with your friends or liked the content yet? If you like my content, well then please like it or subscribe it with your friends. You can also follow me on Instagram, and well, if you're looking out for some mentorship, check out the link below where I do provide one-on-one mentorship as well. And those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Aarushi. I have about 7 years of experience building tech products. In these 7 years, I worked as a developer, as a product manager, as a marketer, and as a content creator as well now. And I've also switched 3 geographies. I was in India, then in Dubai, and now in Canada. And through all of this, I've learned a bunch of things. And in my 7 years of experience, I have worked in small startups which are Series B or Series C. Then I worked in unicorns, soonicorns, decacorns, and now at Amazon. Through all of that, I think I've learned a lot. And in this channel, I just share all of that with you. So if you're interested in tech, product, or general career adulting, well, then this is the place for you. So let's get started. Now, before I start, let me just quickly explain a little bit about my experience so that you understand what kind of places I have worked at. Secondly, then I'll tell you why it is important for you to understand how the role changes across these domains, and then we'll get to it. So I have worked in a Series B, Series C level startup. That's the smallest kind of scale that I worked at, which is about $300-400 million in valuation. So it's not a lot. They were I don't want to give away the number of customers that they had at that point, but that was the scale at the start of the startup that I was working for. The second startup, and this startup, the first one was in Bangalore in India. The second one was Urban Clap, which was about 800 million at the point when I joined it, which was a soonicorn, soon to become a unicorn, and then they became a unicorn by the time I left. So that was Urban Clap, again Gurgaon, India. And then I moved to Noon, which is they don't have a proper valuation publicly stated, but they were definitely much bigger than a unicorn. So that's Noon. And then now I moved to Amazon, which is the biggest e-commerce player in the MENA, not the MENA, but in the world region. So yes, so that's the level of scale that I have jumped across my entire career. And my friend, why should you need to know about it? Why does it matter what kind of company you're joining? Well, a product manager's role changes a lot depending on the place that you're going. Your expectations from you and your expectations from the job, they will have to be married for you to enjoy your work culture. Let's say you've got 2 offers, one from a unicorn and one from a decacorn. Well, your experience in both the places can be very different. The learnings that you will take will be very different, and the skills that you need to have to be in there are also very different. I kept 4 parameters over here. Parameter number 1 is the complexity of the product. Parameter number 2 is the decision making or ownership. Parameter number 3 is the speed of execution, and parameter number 4 is the one that you want to know the most, is compensation. I've kept it for the last because, my friend, you gotta watch it till the end. There's a lot of good content that's coming up. So starting with parameter number 1, which is complexity of the product. Well, it's obvious if you're in a smaller company, the complexity of the product will be much lesser than if you're working for Amazon. Well, ask me. It's a lot of complexity that is here at Amazon. I've spent 2 months and I don't think I understand everything that well. So obviously that's an obvious one. But what does it really mean for a product manager if you're joining in for a complex product versus a very simple one? Obviously, for a complex product, there's a lot to understand. There's a lot of learning that you'll have to do about decisions that have been made in the past, why they were made, why are they still true or are they not true anymore, and there's a lot of learning that you have to do about the past. In a simpler product, well, there is not enough made already, so there's not a lot of decision that you have to learn from the past. You can just get things done, hit the ground running. But then what are the pros and cons of having a complex product versus a simpler product? Well, obviously, let's start with the pros of having a simpler product. There's nothing really made yet. Imagine when Facebook started off, right? At that point, there was no platform, there was no messenger. It was all just getting built up. So if you're joined at that point, well, you would be making a bunch of new crazy cool things, but you would also be failing a lot. I mean, there's nobody who's charted the path ahead of you, so you can't really go ahead and copy something, or you don't always know what to build. You have to really go out, talk to the customers, really invent there. And that sounds like very exciting stuff, but if you're new to product management, it could be really hard for you, because one, in smaller companies which have simpler products, people don't really understand what a product manager does. The company itself is not as complex or not as matured yet, so it's possible that they don't know what they should expect from you. And secondly, since you don't know what product management is, you might not be able to give the right direction. So I would say, if you're someone who's just starting off, while I do recommend going to smaller startups because they do take risks with you, but if you have an option, then don't choose the smallest one, because that's where you will struggle a bit. So that is with simpler products. And then with the complex products, what are the pros of having complex products? Well, if you're working with a complex product, the pro is that obviously a lot of things are already there. You can look at the data, you can learn from it, and there's a lot of learning that's already in there, in the realm of data there, so you can just go and dive deep into it. The other pro is that since you've already built so much, there's a lot of customer engagement that's already happening. So customers are already using so much of your product, they'll already be invested in it, so they'll be very happy to give you more feedback, and the learning loop can come in very quickly, which means you will be probably handheld through things. There'll be a lot more processes in place, so things will be a little less frantic if that's the right word. But yes, there's a lot of learning at the background as well. So if I have to give a suggestion to anyone who's contemplating between different scales of startups, I would say if you're starting new, starting fresh, then join the mid to the most complex big tech kind of companies, where you can learn from a lot of people around you. There's not a lot of risk because there are a lot of people involved in decision making. Oops, I spoke a bit about decision making, which is the next thing. But yes, there'll be like a lot of risk that you can avoid, while you can continue to learn with really great people around you. So prioritize big tech, prioritize more complex companies. Although the product would be more complex, you'll have to learn a lot, but you'll have better learning as a product manager. But if you're someone who's got a few years of experience in, well, then I can't tell you how rewarding it can be to own a product end to end, to build something end to end. Well, it's a lot of responsibility, but it's a lot of fun as well. So if you think you've gotten the knack of it, you are able to understand users, you want to get into the world, well, then go for it. Now comes part 2 or parameter 2, which is the decision making, or what is the ownership, how is it like. Now, of course, in smaller places the ownership is utmost. I mean, the buck stops at you. There's nobody else there. They're very small scale startup. They don't have a lot of people. They don't know a lot. That's what they want from you. So obviously there's faster decision making, there's a lot of ownership. But well, if you F up, well, then you F up. So that's also there. So you have to, and it's not about, well, you could lose jobs on it as well, but it's also about the customers who truly trusted on you and you built something which, didn't work for them. So obviously the ownership and the kind of impact that you will drive is too high, but that also means that in case things go bad, well, then it's too bad. Coming to bigger companies, to big tech, well, here also, like at least in Amazon, I've seen the ownership is still quite high. Now it depends on company to company, but I think ownership in a product role always stays high no matter where you go. But decision making can be a bit different. So decision making can be a bit slower in bigger companies, and that's because there's just a lot of people, a lot of hierarchy that is above you that has to be taken into account, and there are other teams around you that have to be taken into account when releasing something. That's only because the product is far too complex. So all the while the ownership is still on you, the decision making gets a bit slower. That's a bit of a challenge with big tech companies or more complex companies. But to be honest, till, I mean, yes, Amazon is very complex, it's very huge, but till about a decacorn or maybe like a Uber, etc. as well. I haven't worked there, but I think even at that scale things might not be too complex. Working in maybe in Uber is too big now, but if you're in a regional Uber kind of a player, well, then I don't think things will be too complex, and even there you can have great ownership and faster decision making. So again, unless you're going for big tech, I think things would be still quite fast in terms of decision making, because that's how tech works. Now coming to parameter number 3, which is speed of execution. Again, like I said, with decision making, the speed of execution also comes hand in hand. Again, it's super fast in smaller places because you think of something, you get it built, and well, voila. That's how things are. But again, it's not that structured. You don't think things through, and you end up making some stupid mistakes, some stupid products, and your customers are not happy. On the other hand, in big tech, I've realized there's a lot of thinking, there's a lot of analysis that goes into place when you're building something, which also means that you're very cautious about building something which doesn't work for your users, and you're extra careful. That means you think of the corner cases, you think of that situation where it will not work for that cohort of users for whom it will not work, and that's a lot of thoughtful work. So you learn a lot, you learn a lot of patience as well, if that's something that you lack. So now coming to the last part, the part you were most interested in, which is compensation, my friend. Now this differs a lot from geography to geography as well, and it also depends on your current status. For example, if you're someone who's going to US and you don't have a visa, now you're going for an H1B, etc., well then obviously big tech is the place you'd want to be, because those are the ones who can afford your visa. But if visa is not a problem for you and you don't have any loans also, well then you can obviously look at long-term investment or long-term returns rather than short-term salary, right? So it depends a lot on that situation. I am my point of view here is to focus on your cash in hand right now, or what are you getting right now, rather than focusing on the stock aspect of things, because that is, well, you never know with startups, you really never know, right? So what can you get in hand, that's what we'll talk about. But of course there's a big large concept of ESOPs or stocks. Well, that becomes true in the case of big tech because those are RSUs or stocks, but ESOPs are, it could be money in the air. I've worked in certain startups where I was promised some ESOPs, but well, nothing really happened with them. So that's why I'll not count them, I'll discount that. But now let's talk about compensation. So again, depending on a geography, it could vary, but on an average, this is what I've seen, that the smaller startups, again, since they don't have a lot of money at hand, they are very prudent at that point, because they've got to prove a lot and they're setting a lot of things up. So there will not be a lot of in hand that they'll give you, but they'll give you a lot of ESOPs. And if you're someone who really believes in the idea, well then go for it. Or if you're someone, again, like I say, a lot of people who are starting up or who are just getting into the field of product management, well, nobody else is gonna bet on you, then go for these smaller startups, because yes, they don't have money to give you, but well, then you also are not a seasoned product manager yet, so in a way you don't deserve that high salary yet, right? So just go and grind for a bit and learn there. So those places will not give you the maximum salary, maximum in hand, but they are great places to learn, and they pay you through the learning that you get. The second stage, which is almost a unicorn, these places are actually a lot of times very competitive, and they might give you a lot of in hand, and I've seen that happening a lot in India, for example, where they're giving you a lot of in hand to attract the best talent, because these guys have got some money in bank and they have got the vigor to prove, to grow. They're really hungry at that point. So these guys are actually one of the best places to be at as well, because they are really hungry and they are really aggressive. I mean, not aggressive in terms of the place to work at, well, that depends from place to place, but they're aggressive in terms of their growth plans, and they will get it done. Actually, to be honest, I've found I've had a lot of fun working in such kind of places. So yeah, I think that's a great place if you have an option of going there. The third stage, which is decacorns, or established players at least in one region and pretty big. Now these places is a hit or a miss. They can obviously try to, they already know about their position, they know that they are good, and then you will be attracted to them just because the stability that they offer, and still they're still fast enough, they're still cool enough, so they'll be able to attract good talent. So sometimes they end up not being the biggest player or the biggest payer, but they're right about paying you well. So in terms of paying between these three, the small guy, the medium guy, and the above medium guy, in these three, I think the medium guy, the guy who's almost a unicorn, pays you the highest. Now coming to big tech, which is a different league of itself for a couple of reasons. One, it gives you stocks, real stocks, which means that is not paper money, that is real money at the end of the day, and these stocks have been growing for a while. So because of this stock reason, it is definitely one of the best paying things. And secondly, I think in North America at least, or in the region that I am in, I don't agree with this in India. I think the situation there is very different, although big tech there pays really well as well, but so does these unicorns as well. But at least here in North America, this is what I've seen, that nothing, and even in Dubai, nothing pays as well as big tech, and this is period. That's how it is. So this high paying capacity comes through the stocks also that they give you, which obviously, you know, you have to stay in the company for some time for you to get all the stocks. But well, since that is real money, this becomes one of the best paying places as well, and that is how it is. So this covers my entire video. If you like this video, if you like my content, well, then go ahead and subscribe to it now and share it with your friends, and tell me more about what you liked, what you want me to make more content on in the comment section below. I have shared links to my TopMate profile where you can reach out to me in case you want to get a mentorship done, and a lot of other cohorts that I keep doing are getting published on TopMate. Well, then please check that out, and I will see you in the next one. Ta-da!